Hey Freedom Family, Mark here, and I am so glad that you're here at _Freedom for Life _ where we give you the tools, the truth, and the knowledge to take you from where you're at to where you're called and created to be. And I am so glad for today's conversation because today we're going to be talking about how you can determine the guidance, right? The direction to give you the life that you're created for, and how do you discern and see the guidance that maybe is pulling you away from the life that you're created for, and how do you determine which is which? So let's get started, shall we? Hey, and as we're getting started today, could you do me a favor? Could you subscribe and become a part of the family? And don't forget to hit the notification bell because I really want you to be a part of every conversation that we have. And as we're getting started today, I have a question for you. Have you ever had a decision to make? And there was this battle in your mind, this battle in your head that said, go this way or make this decision or do this thing. And then the other side of the coin was saying, no, don't do that, do this, or don't do anything at all. Have you ever had that wrestling match in your head of this thought and that thought, which one to believe and which one to follow? That's the question. Which one do you believe? Which one do you follow? Or even this, have you ever had that conversation, right, inside your head that was saying, don't do it? Whether it was asking for a promotion or trying something new or asking somebody out or whatever the conversation is, there's thoughts in your head that said this, hey, don't do that. Remember last time it failed and it's going to happen again. So what do you do to figure out what voice to listen to? We talked about it last week, right? In this video, we talked about your voice matters more than anyone's. But what happens if you can't discern or determine the voice that you need to guide you to the life that you desire? Well, at that case, what is the thing that's going to determine it? We have some tools for you today, but it really comes down to this. What's empowering you into the life you're created for versus what's disempowering you, stopping you from the life that you're created for? So speaking of empowerment, the question really comes down to this. Is there a voice? Is there a voice that is helping to call us higher in our calling? Is there a voice that says, hey, dream bigger than what you're doing right now? Is there a voice that has us stretch forward into all that we're created to? Well, the truth of the matter is, I believe that there is. And for me, I'm a Christian. And so I believe that there's a voice, and the voice that I'm listening to is God. And I can't assume to know your experience or where you're at in that conversation, but at the end of the day, what I understand for me is there's a God in my life, and He helps me to determine the direction that I'm called to, the life that I'm called to live, and how to live out of that place of who I was created and called to be. And that may not be your experience, but here's what I believe. I believe you've heard His voice even if you haven't known it. And that's not the conversation for today, but I'd love to have that conversation with you. So if that's something you want to learn more about or you have questions about, DM me. We have the links down below of Instagram and Facebook, and I'd love to have the conversation and maybe be able to have that with you. So feel free to do that. But in the meantime, here's the truth. There is a voice that empowers, that lifts higher, that calls you into more than you're created to be. Here's how I know it. Because at the end of the day, you're not satisfied where you're at. You're not satisfied with all you have. You may have some amazing things, and we all do have some things to be grateful for. But there's that thing inside that says, there's more. There's a voice lifting you higher. And so at this point, the question comes down to this. How do I know what it is? How do I know what voice to listen to and how to make the right choice to lead me into the things that I'm created for, the identity that I have being lived out for me and for others? I'm glad you asked it because we have the tools for you. So here's what I'll give you is 3 tests, 3 questions to ask in order to understand, is this the voice that I need to listen to, my voice, or a voice calling me into the things I'm called to? The first test is this. Does that guidance, that instruction, that direction align with my identity? Because here's the truth, at the end of the day, your experience can tell you a lot. And certainly we want to learn from our experiences. That's what wisdom is, right? Learning from your past experiences. The challenge is your experiences make a horrible identity. They're things to go through and to learn from, but your experience and your identity are 2 different things. So in knowing that, is the voice you're hearing just your past experience to tell you that you're going to do it again, or it's going to happen again, or the result is the same? Or is the voice telling you that there are things on the inside of you, there's this identity that you have that needs to be lived out? There's a difference. So the first test is this: does that guidance align with your identity, with who you know that you are? So the second test is this: does that guidance align with what you're called to? I know it's our tagline, what you're called and created for, right? But does that guidance align with what you're called to? And I'll do it as this: what are the could do's versus should do's? There are a lot of activities that we could do. We may have the skill set to do it. We may have the time to do it. We may have the desire to do it. But are they what you're called to? There's this phrase out there. It says, jack of all trades, master of none. You're not meant to be a jack of all trades, but you are meant to master life mastery, master those things that are yours to live out. It certainly will take work. There are no lottery callings. There's no quick movement into the things that you're called to, but there are things that you should do and invest in versus things that are a great idea that maybe aren't yours for this time. So at the end of the day, does that direction align with what you're called to? Maybe called to this week, maybe called to this year, maybe called to in this season of your life. But there are things that you need to invest in because you're called to them. And there are things that are a good idea that you just need to set aside because this isn't the time for them. The third test is this: does that direction, does that guidance align with your character, with who you're created to be? Here's the truth of the matter. At the end of the day, what your life should look like, the life of fulfillment, the life of life mastery, the life that is at the highest level for you, is simply you living out the character of who you were created to be. It's not you putting on things. It's not you doing things, just mustering up this life that you desire. There's certainly hard work involved, and there's certainly energy, time, sweat, and tears that are probably going to be taken so that you can live the life that you're called to. But at the end of the day, your life, the life of life mastery and fulfillment, is you just simply living out of your character, who you were created to be. Does that guidance align with your character? And if it does, then it's probably yours. So remember the three tests this week when you're trying to be guided into a direction or decision in your life. The first test is, does it align with your identity? The second one, does it align with who you're called to be? The third one is, does it align with your character, or really who you're created to be? If it aligns with those, then it probably is a good idea to follow that direction. And if I could just let you know this, and to give you some grace in the matter, I've been there, and maybe you've been there in your life where you feel like you've missed it. There's always an opportunity for a second chance. So if you've made a wrong turn, or you haven't done something that later on you thought, man, I should have done that, there's grace in this. There's always another opportunity to make the right choice to move forward in the life that you've called to. You've got it on the inside of you. You certainly are here for a purpose and a reason, and I cannot wait to hear about the results in your life. So live it out, use these three tests, and know that this next chance is the best chance for you to follow through. As you already know, I'm Mark, and I'm so glad that you're here at _Freedom for Life _ where we give you the tools, the truth, and the knowledge to take you from where you're at to where you're called and created to be. So grateful that you're here. And if you could do me a favor and hit that like button if what we're doing here resonates with you, we really want to know. And speaking of want to know, can you put a comment down below? Let us know the conversation that you want to have, because this isn't a monologue. We're hoping that this is a dialogue. So the conversation you want to have, we want to have with you. And don't forget, as I said earlier, down below are the links to our Instagram and our Facebook account. Share this with somebody who maybe needs help in guidance and direction. And don't forget to do this, Freedom Family. Dominate your day.